Hey everybody, welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. I'm Jesse, and today we're going to finish up what we started yesterday, which was that faculty component, and we pulled in some new data. So I did just a little bit with it after yesterday's stream, so it shouldn't be too hard to catch everyone up. We've got a lot to do, so I'm going to try to work fast, get as much done as I can. And before we go to the code, I'm going to fill you in on the steps needed before we launch, because we're getting close enough that that list of steps is not that long. So let's do that. Let me get it pulled over on the screen here. All right. So I'm going to copy and paste this into my editor, I think, if it'll let me. No? I don't think it's going to let me. Nope. Alright, I'll just have to bring it over. I can copy. Alright, there we go. I was trying to copy a checklist from Google Keep, and evidently it doesn't let you. So, but you can copy it to a Google Doc. So here's my to-do list that I've just named to do today, because every day is today. So then I don't have to change the name for different days of the week. So hopefully you can see this list. Here's some stuff that I've had on here previously, and yes, I do have to remind myself to eat. That is on my list several times. So here's what's left. So this finish the faculty page component, we're going to do that in today's stream, or at least get pretty close, and I'll finish up later. All right, so that should be done. Then we're going to update that faculty list component. So we just need to plug in that data that we've got. So that should be pretty easy, because we can just copy and paste a lot of what we've done in the faculty component into the faculty list component. So those two, there's a good chance these two could be done today. Right? We need to pull in that data for those sample schedules. So if you remember a few streams ago, we made that sample schedule component, and we weren't using real data. Right? We had brought in some data, and we need to get that data from WordPress. Since we did a couple streams on trying to get that data into our GraphQL from WP GraphQL to make it work with that plugin, couldn't get that to work. So to me, I see that as a big time sink that I don't have time for right now. So I'm going to put that on hold, and I'm just going to go with what I know works. We're going to get that data from the REST API. Unfortunately, it's going to mean that we have to make 2 API calls per page on the pages that have these schedules. One for the GraphQL, one for the REST API. But I think that is going to be faster to implement than trying to modify some WordPress plugins. At least for me at this point it is. I need to double check the menu links on the top and side nav. I've noticed sometimes when I'm clicking around, it's taking me to the wrong page. So I'm not sure why that's happening. I need to go in and double check just to see what's going on. And then I'd like to push all the changes to dev. So this needs to happen by the end of the day today. So I don't know if I'll get through all these, but definitely by the end of the day today, I want to push changes to that dev.franciscan.university so that that's up to date. I can't remember the last time I put the changes there. And I need to get this link out to some people at the university. So we can't go live until I get approval from some people. So that's kind of going to be a holdup for us. So my boss is trying to schedule that meeting right now. He's thinking we might not be able to get the meeting until the first week of August. So that makes our launch date maybe the second week of August, somewhere around there. And I mean, if we can get the meeting in sooner, that'd be awesome. But that's no matter whether the site's done or not before then, we can't launch until approval. So other thing we want to do is create a floating side menu. So I have all the data I need now for those menus, and we'll create that. If you're not sure what that is, don't worry about it. We'll stream about that. And then we'll put the data in for that. We need to finish that search component. And I've got new data in for the search URLs that I mentioned yesterday. And so my student workers are working on completing that data. Once that's completed, we can pull the data in, and we should be able to finish that search page. And then we need to make sure that our search inputs on the side nav and on the top nav for desktop, that app bar, they actually work. And I need to build a custom admissions landing page. So I've sketched out just in my notebook some designs for this. So I just need to follow those sketches to build out a landing page, because basically the admissions department needs to approve this website before it goes live, because this website will most directly impact the work that they're doing, since it's geared towards incoming students. So that's who I have to get a meeting with. The vice president of admissions and the director of admissions need to sign off on that. So I want to make that particular page look as good as possible. And then finally, the advanced, if I have time, I want to add that advanced custom field data to WP GraphQL, so I don't have to use the REST API and make multiple API calls. So that's it. I'm sure I'll find other stuff in the site that needs done, but basically this is the step to launch, to launching everything. So I get all these done, get approval, and the site can launch. All right. So just wanted to give you all an overview. I know I do get asked somewhat frequently when this site's going to launch, by people at the university and by you all, in the stream or in social media. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Okay, let me start my Pomodoro timer, and we can get started on this, which yesterday, I don't know that we had this data in here. So here's what I've done since yesterday. Oh, hey everyone! I see some of you in the chat. Don't want to leave you hanging. Hey, what's going on today? Is there soccer or football on today? Again, I get no viewers when there's football on. Steven says, "Come to Austin and let's get some ramen." That would be awesome. I'm a big fan of ramen, and I haven't had it in so long. Partly because I was on a diet for a while. But my weight is pretty good right now, so I'd eat some ramen. Okay, so here's what I did. I added in these fields for just a bunch of spans for all those different things. You can see here the job title, email, phone number, and then that curriculum vitae, that CV field. But I added in the check. So we had talked yesterday about making sure we need to check to see if that data is actually there. So that's what I've added in here, is just a check to see, like, does that exist? If it does exist, then get it. So what I'm going to do to test this out is I'm going to go in and take away some data. So let's take out this phone number and update, so we will no longer have a phone number, and hopefully the page won't break. What? Why does it not let me update? I may have to log in again. Alright, cool, it worked that time. Alright, so let's go back here, refresh. Alright, cool. So look, the phone number didn't show up at all, but you can see we didn't get an error because we've checked here, and we're only conditionally trying to render the value of that field. Alright, so if this exists, then we get the value, and we put that in our span tag. If it doesn't exist, nothing happens, right? So that's what we need to have a check for each thing in here. So we probably we'll need to do that as well for all this up here too. Will we? Yeah, we will. But for now, let's just get this formatting sorted. So let me put that phone number back in. Update. Okay. Cool. So we should have the number again. Great. All right. So here's what I'm thinking in terms of getting this, looking better. I already did some updates on fonts, on making these headers a little bit nicer. These headers are way too small, so I still need. These are H6s, so we need to up that for sure. This text here, the main text, is at 18 pixels. I believe that these H3s are also around 18 pixels as well. At least I think. Let's see. Teaching professional experience. Yeah. So I mean, maybe if I bump this up a little bit, it should work. I want to keep that visual hierarchy, but I don't want things to get like so huge that it's kind of ridiculous. So we'll probably play around with the CSS on these just a bit, see what looks right. But you can see these are outside of our container, so we just need to move our container class up a level so it encompasses all of this, and that's going to bring this all into alignment. I definitely don't want the default link styling, so we're going to apply some of the link styling that we already have kind of across the board on the site. We're just going to make sure that applies to this as well. And then we're going to display all this information, kind of stacked on top of each other. So that's the plan right now. Let's deal with the easiest things first. So where are we at here? Our content div, let's see, div test ID, content. So we've said this div with the data test ID of content. We're given a max width of 90%, margin 0 auto. So let's do this differently. I wonder why we didn't put this in some of these other styles. Oh, because we have no styles at all. All right then. Well, you know what we can do? We didn't put any styles into here before because we were pulling all the markup in, but now we can change that. So we can pull out some of these. So let's just copy over from a different component some of our styles here. Okay, faculty. What do you all think? Is it better to put our styles at the top of the component or at the bottom of the component? I always put them at the top, but the other project that I was working on, oh, by the way, I've finished my piece of the work for the Balance app, so there's still more to be done, so I'm not sure when it's going to launch, but I'm finished with that now, so hopefully that'll free up a little bit of time for me. But anyway, when I was working on that, they had the styles underneath, and I kind of like that because when you start to get a lot of styles, it's a lot of scrolling before you actually get to the component. So I don't know, let's try to put them down below for now, and just kind of see how that goes, see how we like it. All right, so let's see. What const can only be used in a dot? That's ridiculous. Okay. Alright, so I don't need root here. I need let's just call this content, I'm sorry, container. We'll make this container. I want to see what y'all think about the styles here, so I'm going to the chat just for a second. Steven says, I prefer the bottom. I feel like it's more convenient if you need to come in and make changes. How many styles never matters. Nikki says, for styles, as long as you're consistent over the entire app, all at the top or all at the bottom. Okay, yeah, I like that. I know we've done everything at the top so far. It wouldn't really be that big of a deal to switch things to the bottom, just a little copy and pasting. So, I don't know. I'm going to try it out on the bottom. I kind of like it, and then if I really do like it, we want to stick with it, I'll make an issue about changing the styles, and then maybe somebody will come in and do it, and if not, at some point when I get some time, I'll go do it, or maybe each time I open up a new component and make an edit, I'll flip the styles of that component to the bottom. You know, I mean, there's a couple ways we can make that happen, but for today, we'll try it here, and I am a little bit concerned as to why it's telling me that I can't use const. That's really weird. Am I putting this in the wrong? Oh, you know what? It shouldn't affect const, but it might be mad that I put this inside of here. Okay. That should be better. Container, and we can put in max width 100%. Nope, that's the wrong thing. Max width 90%, and margin 0 auto. All right, cool. Now we can go to this div and add style equals styles.container. Close that out. There we go. And I believe we can get rid of this data test ID. I don't think we need that anymore. And we can also get rid of it in here. Whoops, you know what? We got to do this media query as well. I can never remember the syntax for media query when we're doing styles like this, but I know we've used it elsewhere. So let's go with, I'm trying to think what would be the fastest way to do this. Maybe just look it up in Material UI, because I can't remember what component I did this in. Media queries. With media queries. There we are. Okay. So we can use these theme breakpoints. We'll just copy and paste that here. Yeah. And we had a 600 pixel. Let me see what these points equate to. Alright, small is 600 pixels or larger. So, yep, so that corresponds. Awesome. Exactly what we need. Down. Alright, so we don't want down, we want up. So we want small, which is 600 pixels, and up, we're going to give it a max width of 70%. Anything below that, the max width is going to be 90. Alright, and then that way we don't have these huge white gaps on small screens that are just way too big. Alright, let's save that, see how it's working. Oops, let's take this out first. Okay. Syntax error. That's weird. Alright. Why is it giving me that? I've done something wrong. Well, since we have this on the screen already, let's look up how it was done here. Const styles. Well, they have styles equals theme with styles. Do I need that with styles? Do I not have that on this component? I do not. Okay. Yeah, I don't. We can just grab with. Wait a second. Went through with data. There we go. With styles. I didn't see it in here before. Page query with root. Layout. Oh, it's all the way at the top. Okay. When I first copied this over, I looked here to see if there was something else I'd need and just did not see that one. Okay. We'll throw that in there, and then we need to change up how we're going to do this. So I'm going to copy everything over and then just adapt what's down here. So export full compose with root. Okay, so should be able to just do this. And add in another. Yep, there we go. Alright, let's see if it works now. Still doesn't work. Come on. Hey, Inna's here. How's it going, Inna? Thanks for joining us. Shoot. What am I doing wrong? Compose with data with styles. Default compose with data with styles. Oh, you know what? Let's see. Where's the page where I'm actually using this? Not there, not there. Sample schedule. Styles. So, oh, I know. I put 2 brackets instead of just 1. So, if I was going to actually put like an inline style here, I do need 2 brackets because the second set of brackets would mean it's an object. But I'm not trying to put an object in here. I'm trying to put in a variable or a constant. So, that was my problem. I mean, the other stuff of importing, I would have had to have done that anyway, so I'm glad I put that in. Theme is not defined. What? Oh, did I use... I think I need the theme for the breakpoints to work. And where is that? Let's see how we do that here. Styles equals theme, and then we put everything in an arrow function. Okay. Alright, so let's All right, one more time. All right, cool, it works, but no, it's not working. All right, let's see. Where's our... this div? Alright, let's see what we did. Okay, so on this div, we put this style, these container styles. And those were the same styles that we had over here. We just brought them over. Okay. That's kind of weird. So I'm assuming it's this div, but it looks like there's no... The styles that we want to be applied there are not being applied. And let me go back to the console. We're not getting any warning that's related to that. This week has been rough on the streams. Things that should just happen, that are very simple, that we've done a million times, are just not working. Okay. Alright, let me go back to here and see what we've done. Oh. Okay, well, there's one thing I messed up. I put this outside when it should have been inside. Ooh. Alright, see if that makes any difference at all. No, still nothing. Okay. Theme. Let's see how they apply these. This is why. Styles, list frequency. Alright, I don't know. So this, doing it like this works here, but I think we need to do it like this now. Let me double check that. Yeah, so we need to have this classes. and then add this as a class name. So I guess we can do it right here at the top. We do it in the renderer. Yeah. Props is not defined. There we go. It worked this time. See, there we go. 70, and then once we get a little bit smaller, see it changes to 90. All right, wonderful. So at least everything's all in a row. That was rough. That was so rough. Okay, so my timer's almost up. I'm gonna go to the live chat in just a second, check the questions, and then we'll get back to the code. And I'm gonna take a drink of G Fuel. Try to get my brain working. So I've been having morning meetings, like really long morning meetings for the last 3 days. This was my last day. And it just kind of kills you, like right in the morning. Like your brain is just, I don't know. For me, like after a long meeting, my brain is done, right? So I try to like combat that. I've been working out every morning, but like you work out, you're pumped, you know, and then you just sit for 9:30, like an hour and a half. And anyway, I'm making excuses for my bad coding. All right, not that much in the chat, so I'll probably get through this all within the 5-minute break. Reuven says, hey Jesse, handsome as always. Is GraphQL a database itself or does it use something else? I really like the way you asked that question. So started out by calling me handsome. I will just say this. In general, it's normally not a great idea to you know, talk about somebody's looks when it's off topic. But in my case, I'm always very flattered by comments about my look, so I'm cool with that. But I give the disclaimer because I know there's especially a lot of female coders who constantly get comments about their looks, and it's not, they don't want that kind of attention. I'm not saying all people don't want that attention, but I'm saying there are some female coders who get a lot of that, and it's unwanted. So anyway, so just a reminder, for me it's cool, but that doesn't make it cool for everybody. But anyway, Reuven, totally awesome. I love that the way you asked that question. And GraphQL is not a database, right? It's like an API, right? So like REST is not a database, but it's a way to get data from a database. Does that make sense? All right, Nikki says, do you need to do that check? So here's the check we were doing here, saying, do we have to do that check? Like GraphQL will return null and React would just ignore stuff if it's null, you'll get empty span tags. So yeah, keep the check. Yeah, so we potentially would get empty span tags, but also, I don't know, that's kind of a good question. I don't want to take any more time to test it out. I'm going to keep them in there for now, but what I've found before, and maybe this is different because of the way that data gets in there, is what would happen then in the data that we're getting from, let me pull this over. Like, we're getting this data, and we would end up having, like, the email field would say email field null here, and it wouldn't have value. So it wouldn't say value null, it would say email field null. And that's where we would get the error, because it would say, like, basically, like, we're trying to look this up that doesn't exist, and I'd get an error message. Does that make sense? Or even worse, sometimes the data comes in and, like, this is just gone completely. But I think this should be good. Well, we know this works. We know it's good. We took out the data and it still worked. So, but I mean, at the very least, it does save us. Actually, no, we're still getting empty span tags the way I did it here. I need to do it like this and actually put the span tag inside of this. So we might change that. I mean, if I have an empty span tag, it's not the end of the world, but it's probably better practice not to have it. Let's see. Steven says, all right, going out to lunch with some team members. We'll have to catch the replay when I get back. Got to get that ramen. Enjoy the ramen. I wish it was me. And it says, I'm fine. How goes your day, Jesse? Yeah, not bad. I got in a good workout this morning and got to my meeting on time. I actually fit into a pair of pants that I haven't fit into for a long time, so that was good. They're still a little, like, tight, so I'm not sure how tight is too tight for guys wearing pants. So I went with a different pair, but I was excited that I could actually get them on and button them up. So if that sounds weird to you, I was on a diet and been working out recently, so that's, like, exciting news for me. So anyway, so my day's been okay so far. Thank you for asking. Oh, Nikki already pointed out that I'll still get empty span tags. Yeah, you're right. I will still get empty span tags. So maybe we should change that up now. Yeah, so let's change this. Let's get rid of these span tags. And let's throw in after this N. And then here there we go. So now what will happen is the entire span will be there or not, depending on whether or not this field is there. Okay, cool. You know what, honestly, I'm super curious now whether or not we even need this check. So I really want to try this. So the easiest way to do this right now is just to render this twice. So this one will have the check, this one won't have the check, and we'll see what happens. So right now we should get it twice, which we forgot to put span. There we go. I needed to put brackets in here so we were back in JavaScript land, and these would then be variables. So they're being interpreted as strings and just added in. There we go. Okay, so we should have, yep, 2 email addresses. Man, you know what? I'm just gonna add some styles on here right now because this is annoying me. What am I going to call this? Info row. And for now, we'll just go display block. So this should give us what we need. So just for now, at least. Okay. If that looked crazy, I'll just explain. I used multiple cursors, so I was able to highlight multiple instances of the same thing and then type it out at once. So all I really did was just added class name, classes info row to 4 span tags, and that just adds display block to all of those. Okay. Come on, there we go. Okay, now it's it's just easier to read, so we can clearly see that here we have the email address twice. Now onto the test. Let's remove this. Whoop. Not phone number, we're doing email address this time. Let's remove the email address, update this, see what happens. And we're testing to see basically we're testing our error checking to see, like, is this even an issue? Okay. Good to know. It's not an issue. So I guess that Nikki was right. Let's go to our content here, and let me grab this data again, and it's not happening. How many are they giving me? Not enough. Let's see if I can get faculty where name, is it name? No. I can't remember the syntax for this. There we are. Arg value name. And let's grab the name here. Should be this. You know what? Let's just go with slug, because I know for sure slug will be consistent. POIS. It's not going to work. Yeah. Alright, let's see. It works. Sneak says if the thing he tried, span tried to access something from null, your console would probably throw an error. Okay. Yeah, let's just check the console. Maybe I won't need to do this. You know what? It's still rendered these, but it's just rendering them empty. So I wonder if, see, that's why I want to see how the value's coming back. Oh, you know what? What am I thinking? We already have this here, where name equals, there we go. And that's okay. And now we'll say, let's try this now. Alright, there we are. So now we can see email field value, and it gives us a value that's just, it's nothing. Okay, so because that's the way the data comes up, we don't need to do any checks. At least not on these. Now the place where we definitely need checks is here in our media details, because you can see like there potentially could be other sizes here, and then they would either just exist or not exist at all. So that's where we'll need the checks. So we could either keep the checks here if we really want to keep out empty spans. We can add to this. So we could say, let's go in our ands. Value, if faculty phone field value is not equal to blank. Alright, let's see if that works. There we are. So now it's not rendering empty empty spans. Alright, wonderful. So now we're no longer rendering empty spans, and we can get to styling this. Great. Alright, so we started the styling process a bit here already. Oops, let me make sure I put this back in this email. No. I believe it was S. Oops, that's pretty much how all the email addresses go around here. So I'm just going to go with that. Alright, so yeah, so name, position, email, phone number, CV down here. Alright, great. So are we using grid here already? We're not, right? Disk full, material icons. Why do we have this? I don't know why we have that in there. Let's take that out. We need to import grid. So let's pull it in from here. Now we can use grid, and now let's copy and paste some of the stuff we did in the sample schedule. We'll copy and paste it into here. And we're going to put this grid around, here we are. Yeah, we don't want it to be the everything in the grid container. We want to make this grid so before we get to this content here, we're going to do a closing tag for our grid container, and we're also going to add a closing. Well, that first one would be for the grid item, and this one is going to be the grid container. Alright, so now that works, and we want to make sure right after the image, we also close the grid item, and then we open a new grid item. We'll copy this and throw that in there, and we're going to change these styles. We're going to change, we don't need the key, so let's save it. There we are. Okay, interesting. Alright, let's switch it up a bit. I want to move this outside of our grid. So I want that, there we are. Now we have the info down a bit lower. I don't know that I really like that. We'll mess with it a little bit more, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't know. Nikki says, I don't need the is not equal to an empty string because an empty string is falsy. Alright, cool. I was wondering about that, and I'm really glad that it is. Do you ever go with, like, you think something will work one way, but you know it will work another way, and instead of looking it up, you just go with the way you know will work? That was one of those times. It's probably not the best thing to do, but if you're trying to get something done fast, you know, you do it, right? Extra few characters in there, but really it only took a few, a second or so. All right, so here's what I'm not sure about. So if we were to make this screen bigger, right, then you would have this stuff all the way over here. I mean, does that even make sense? You could flip it around the other way. Maybe that would make more sense. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the chat. I'm kind of stuck here on styling. What makes more sense? I mean, for mobile, like, this works. I like this. I mean, I don't think it looks that good, but like it makes sense. It needs some styling though. But then on desktop, I mean, there's just all this space here. All right. I just need to make a decision. So we need to get it done. All right. I'm going to leave it like this for now. We'll do a little bit of styling. See if it looks better once we get this cleaned up a bit. You know, we do have the class on these rows here, so let's just start adding it right in here. Alright, so I definitely want font size. Let's go with 20 pixel font size, and we want it spaced a bit, so I'm going to say margin bottom, right? Because I don't want to have, I want it to line up with the image right on the top, so I don't want to have this weird thing. So I'm just going to put margin on the bottom, and I'm going to go with 8 pixels. Let's see what we get. All right, not bad. Not bad. Let's see what it looks like when we go down. All right, actually, we'll never. There we are. We'll never really see a screen more narrow than that, and we could, let's just run it like this. All right, let me know what you all think. I'm happy with that for now. Let's see. Nikki says, definitely these kinds of things can eat time if you're not careful. So I still love them. Yeah. And bump the line height of the info text next to the picture. Add some margin bottom to each. That'll look nicer. Perfect. That was because of the delay. Nikki had sent that message before I said it, but that's awesome that we're on the same page there. Okay. Actually, I think this is fine. This is not the most beautiful thing I've ever designed and developed here, but considering, number one, it looks a heck of a lot better than what we had, and we don't have a lot of time. So I think this is fine for now. So the only other things we should do on these pages is clean this up a bit and also increase font size. Right now, let's check the font size on this right now. And we're just going to go in and change, there we go, our H6 is, you know what, I totally didn't realize that I had the font size on this stuff so small. Sorry for that. Okay, so on our H6, let's change our font size to, all right, let's see what 18 looks like. 18 pixels. Actually, you know what? I really like that. I like 18. Let's go with that. So I actually have this in the CSS because remember, these are coming from the content that we're pulling in. So we need to put it in the CSS file. 8.6. Oops. I need to separate it out. H6 font size 18 pixels. So 18 pixels I believe is the same size as the rest of the text on that page, but because we have that font weight there, it definitely looks like it's a heading, right? That's what we want. And I want to check what I have for these H3s because they should be bigger than an H6. And computed font size. See, it's slightly bigger. So let's change those H3s. Let's bump those up to 20. Okay. Not a huge thing, but it's definitely 20. So that was a little over 1 pixel difference. But I definitely, you know, I want that change since we bumped this up. And then clearly, I believe that's an H1. That's clearly, you know, bigger than these. So I think this is fine for now. Okay. Cool, that works. So that's taken care of. Now we just need this. Let's go. How can we do this? I definitely have some CSS in another CSS file to handle links. So in this particular component, we're pulling in just the faculty.css, but I believe we had a CSS file that included just kind of universal styles. Has anybody listened to the Throwback Thursday playlist for today on Spotify? It sounds like it's all 90s rock music, but it's nice. It's nostalgic. That's what I have on right now. Where are we at? Oh, here we are. Is it page? Is that the one? Yep. All right, so the style sheets they're a bit of a mess now. They definitely need some work. So for now, I'm just going to copy and paste this over. Instead of pulling all these styles in. By that I mean instead of actually importing a separate style sheet, I'd rather not do that. And I know I've been saying, like, we need to do this project fast. I don't have time to clean these up. You know, so, but that time, it needs to come before they get too crazy. So let's see if this works. You know what? All right, it will work. Yeah, but realistically, this is its own component. So we could probably take this and put it in, put it here. But there could be links within this content that we're getting. So we're going to need that anyway. So I'm not at this point going to duplicate those styles here. So here's the view CV. You know, it's at the bottom. It's kind of out of the way. But I think that's fine. We had a discussion about this yesterday. I don't think we should be highlighting, hey, you know, download this PDF. All right, great. Cool. And then what I'll do after the stream is I'm going to assign to my student workers to look through all of the profiles, all of the profiles for these professors, and let me know which ones look really weird. If there's something going on in this content area that I don't know what kind of markup they could have. Some professors I think had like YouTube embeds and stuff, so they'll let us know, and that'll save us a lot of time in testing, but they'll let us know if we need to account for anything else, any other type of markup. All right, wonderful. And my timer's up, so that's perfect timing. So let's, before I go back to the chat and answer questions, let's commit this and push it up to the main repo. And you know what? I just now realized I am running ngrok, and I could have given you all the link, but I guess I'll throw it in there right now if you want to just kind of see what's happening. Very sorry about that. Right before I started the stream, I was like, remember the ngrok link, and then I didn't remember it. All right, but let's get this committed. So let's do a get status just to double check what we've changed. So, yep, we updated that query. Well, I updated this query before, like a few minutes before we started. We updated that faculty.js, the CSS. Great. So let's do a get add them all, yarn cm, and yarn cm, you probably don't have that on your project. It's a little custom thing to help you create a well-formatted commit message. So otherwise, you just want to type in git commit with the little m flag. So git commit -m, and then you can put your message in quotes. Let's see. Style. We really just styled this, right? Yeah. And I don't think we have an issue about this, so I'm not going to bother with that. Okay, so while that does its thing, runs all the tests, does the auto formatting, I'm going to go to the chat. Please put your questions in the chat now if you have any questions for me to answer. Once I get through everything in the chat, I'm going to end the stream. All right, great. Now I'll push this, git push. Awesome. Now all this code is available to you on the GitHub repo that's linked in the description. So just check it out. If you go to that repo, you can go into the pages folder and then go into that faculty.js, and that's where we did most of the work. But feel free to use that for whatever you want, or add or correct anything that I messed up. All right. Okay, actually not that much in the live chat, so should be pretty quick. Pre-Rack says, I need to learn React. Well, yeah, if you're interested in learning React, you can definitely watch these streams and check it out. But there's also some videos. I think Bo Carnes did a React intro video series. Sorry for the yawning. And that's on our channel right now. There's a React intro series on Learn Code Academies. So that's Will Stern's YouTube channel. And then React documentation is great for learning it. So that's what I would recommend. FreeCodeCamp has some React stuff now in their challenges as well. Elon Musk says hello. Hello, Elon. Thanks for joining. Okay, and it looks like Elon was also wanting to know how to learn React stuff. So yeah, so those stuff that I just said is probably a really good place to start. I've heard that there's also, so like I did the Udacity React Nano degree. If you're interested in spending some money to get more formal training, check that out. A lot of people like Wes Boss's courses. I've never done one of his courses, but he's done React stuff. React Training has some courses. So I haven't done all these things. I've just heard good things about them. But yeah, there's a lot out there. So, but I would say like check out some of the stuff that I mentioned, because I know I've either done it myself or I've heard that they're really good. All right, Einbishin says, can you explain what Webkit and prefixes are used for? Yeah, so when browsers don't support something in CSS, sometimes they'll... all right, so this is my... I don't think this explanation is going to be very official, but essentially, like, using those prefixes from a developer standpoint, that's a way to make things work in browsers where things aren't, like, officially supported by default, right? So what is it, the Moz prefix, and I don't even remember all the prefixes. Usually I use things that auto prefix, so I don't worry about it. But if you use those prefixes, then you can get what you're trying to do in CSS to work. So if you try to use it without the prefix and someone's using one of those browsers that need it, then that part of your CSS it'll be ignored. And the reason behind it, right, I don't know technically how it's all done. The reason is just that different browsers support different things in CSS officially, but they sometimes will have like, I don't know, like a workaround to use it, right, before it becomes official and is officially supported. It's I guess tested out behind this prefix, this vendor prefix. Correct me if I'm wrong about all that. I just know that it works and how to make it work. I don't You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know the whole reasoning behind it, but I believe that's it. But anyway, a lot of times you can find like a plugin that'll work with Webpack or Gulp or whatever you're using that will take your CSS and automatically add prefixes to it. So you don't even have to worry about which prefixes to use. And it keeps your CSS nice and clean because the stuff you actually work with doesn't have the prefixes. It gets added in later on, and you never have to see it. So that's really cool because the prefix stuff can get pretty crazy if you're using a lot of things that need a lot of prefixes. Nikki says, question, what snack should I order to go with my French fries? French fries. I mean, typically you get a hamburger, right, with French fries. That's classic. So I would say that. It's really hot where I'm at. If it's hot where you're at, maybe get a milkshake or an ice cream cone. I don't know, depending on where you're at in the world, but where I'm at, there's this fast food chain called Wendy's, and they have these kind of like milkshake things called Frosties, and I know it's popular to get a chocolate Frosty and then dunk your French fries in it and eat your French fries. So I don't know. I mean, salt and chocolate definitely go together, right? So people have done that. I do it occasionally. I'm more of a fan of, ketchup with the fries, not so much the Frosty with my fries. But if you don't want the hamburger, then I recommend getting some sort of ice cream based treat, especially if it's hot. And that's not healthy advice either. So if you have health problems because of eating too much junk food, then please don't blame me. Jacob says, maybe you should do a separate design for mobile and desktop. I didn't watch it all. Yeah, so we do have we have design differences between mobile and desktop for sure. So the site, most of the site has been designed with mobile as the primary focus, and then things just kind of scale up for desktop. Yeah, but so the design, there's not two completely different designs, but we just use media queries to change things up when we need to. All right, Nikki says, check out the free beginner course, the Beginner React course by Kent C. Dodds on Egghead. I think it's like egghead.io is the address. All right, so I haven't done that course, but Nikki recommends that. Also, Tyler McGinnis did a good series on YouTube about starting with React. Okay, cool. So check those out. Avinash says, just came. What are you building? Oh, we were working on mainly styling a React component using some CSS today, and it's part of a much larger project that's been going on for, I don't know, like 6 months, going on 7 months now. So yeah, at this point, this stream's going to be available to watch. A few minutes after it's over, it'll be posted on the freeCodeCamp YouTube channel. So feel free to go back and watch to know more exactly about what we did. Nikki says, Bicky Burger, it is very popular here in Belgium. Okay, I've never heard of it, but I've also never been to Belgium, so that's probably why. Prereq says, okay, Jesse and Rook is Nikki, so I use it interchangeably. But thanks for recommending. Oh, you're welcome. No problem. Good luck with your React studies. Avinash says, "Okay, I'll do that. Is GraphQL the future?" Kind of. I mean, I would say GraphQL is the present and the future at this point because it's been around for a little while and more people are using it. I definitely see GraphQL as being better than a REST API. So it cuts down on the, with the REST API, usually you have this problem of you make one API call and you get a ton of data, and a lot of it you don't even need, or you have split your data out into a bunch of different endpoints, and then you have to make multiple API calls to different endpoints. So you don't necessarily get a bunch of extra data, but you're making all these API calls. Either way, like, that's not ideal. GraphQL eliminates that by allowing you to make one API call, get exactly the data that you want and nothing more. So just that alone is a definite advantage, because when you're building a website, you want to minimize the amount of data and the amount of network requests that you make. All right, that's going to help speed for your site for sure. It's also going to help. You don't want to eat up people's data plans, on their phone. So anything you can do to get the overall size, in megabytes of your website down is a good thing. And the speed also, you want to get that load time down. So I think GraphQL is in that category is definitely better than a typical REST API. Mustafa says React or Angular. Well, I use React. I haven't used Angular since Angular 1. So, and I've heard that the new versions of Angular are so different that I'm not even going to comment on Angular, because I just don't know. I assume that Angular is good. A lot of people use it. But around here, we definitely use React, and I like React. So I don't really have any plans to use anything other than React anytime in the near future. I'd rather just try to specialize it right now and get good with that. Avanesh says, thanks, love and support from India. Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Elon says, how many years of experience do you have in web development? 5, 6. I feel like I keep saying I've had 5 years of experience for the last 3 years. I'd have to go back for sure. You can check out my LinkedIn if you want to know for sure, but I'm at least 5 years. Jacob says, what web server is your local host? I'm not exactly sure what you want for an answer to that question. We have Webpack running, handling all the stuff of being able to run stuff locally. And that's pre-configured since we're using Next to build it out. And I'm using ngrok so that you all can check out the site. So I don't know, is any of that at all answering your question? M. Alvi says, hey, can I learn React fully for free? For sure, yeah. There's so many free resources out there. You can learn React and not spend anything. Jacob asks, am I using Visual Studio plugin? Yeah, I have a lot of plugins for Visual Studio. If you're asking me specifically to run the localhost, am I using a Visual Studio plugin? No, it's running through Webpack. So I think that makes more sense now what you're asking. M. Alvi says, how long does it take to learn React? It entirely depends on how much time you have to dedicate to it, how much you already know about JavaScript, how smart you are in terms of being able to pick up new ideas. So I'd say, it definitely took me months before I was confident enough to really start using React on real projects, projects I was getting paid for. MLV says, how much of React would I have to know to get into back-end development? React is front-end. So if you want to get into back-end, you're going to have to learn either a back-end like language, like PHP is widely used, Ruby. You could use Node if you want to stick with JavaScript. So yeah, but React is just front-end. I mean, you can do server-side rendering with React, but you're not. It's not used for back-end programming. What were you? I think I messed this name up before. Let me know how to pronounce that. Waru says, will I get any benefits by wrapping a REST API with GraphQL, or will that make the request slower? I'm not sure what it would do on the server side in terms of slowness of the request, but I could see client side as that being it being better if you did have a situation where you would have to make lots of API calls with the REST API, and by switching to GraphQL, you only cut that down to one. So I guess it would depend on your situation. If using the REST API, you only had to make one call, you weren't getting a ton of extra data, probably okay just to stick with REST API. But otherwise, it might work with the GraphQL. But I have no idea what kind of slowdown would happen on the back end by doing that. If there would be any significant slowdown, I'm not sure. Mustafa says, thank you for these great live streaming. Love and respect from Morocco. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. MLB says, Fetch versus Axios, which one is better? I always use Fetch. I've heard a lot of good things about Axios, but I always use Fetch. It's really simple in terms of like if you're doing it on the client side and browser, it's supported by newer browsers natively. You don't have to import anything, so I like that. So in terms of which one is better, I don't know. I'm sure they each have their advantages or disadvantages, but since I haven't really used Axios, I'm not in a good position to say which one's better. All right, and that's the end of the questions, and we are just in time for the next stream to start. So I believe at 1 p.m. Eastern time, there's going to be a live stream continuing from earlier in the week about creating Alexa skills, which I've created Alexa skills before, and it's really fun. So if you're at all interested in that, definitely check out the live stream and make your own skill, and let me know if you do, because I'll try it out. Thank you all so much for joining in. Thank you for all your help and for being patient with me as I struggled through what should have been simple things and let's see. I'm trying to find my stop streaming button. Yeah, so tomorrow's Friday. I'll probably be at home on Friday, so I'm going to try to do a stream. Last time I tried to stream from home, though, we had some technical difficulties, so hopefully that doesn't happen. We can work it out and I can get a good stream in. So hopefully see y'all tomorrow, maybe next week if I can't get things working right. But until then, have a wonderful day.